Hello, good evening or good night. How would you say 9 p.m.? It's not evening, it's very late. So let's get started with some announcements, y'all. I have a workshop coming up on Wednesday the 28th, and that link is in bio if you're interested in signing up for that. There are a few things that I wanted to kind of mention to you tonight about that, and kind of like the big picture umbrella themes that we're going to be working on. Yes, this is virtual and it is on the 28th, so that's a week from yesterday. So we're going to be working on banishing self-doubt, unleashing your potential, some of the effective communication that you need to communicate your confidence. How do you even, once you find some confidence, how do you begin to communicate that at work, with friends, and in relationships? Then how to thrive under pressure, right? With confidently thrive under pressure. We're going to definitely be working on mindset. Mindset is my jam. Successful mindset. Like, what is that success mindset that perhaps you're missing and that you need? And that unshakable self-esteem that we're also going to be discussing then. Okay? Link is in bio for that registration. You don't want to miss it. I lowered the price pretty significantly. I think it's it's probably about 60% off the original price of that workshop with all that content. It's going to be so good. All right, let's get into today's topic, and that is how you are programmed to be insecure, but not only be insecure, but also stay consistently insecure, okay? We have a natural tendency as humans to compare, right? Because, we have the ability to see, we see. If you have the ability to hear, we hear. We are in comparison mode all the time, especially in communities, like siblings. It could be within anything. It's not something that we do kind of like to hate on others, but there's always a little bit of comparison that happens, and some of it happens unconsciously, right? And we want to work to bring that to the conscious state of mind so that we can work through it. So it's that social comparison, that tendency that we have to compare ourselves to others. And this does lead to inadequate or insecurity when we compare ourselves, right? Because we're bombarded with what we should do, who we should be, what we should be doing. Perhaps our parents are doing it. Perhaps our communities are doing it. Perhaps a small circle of friends are doing it. But there's all these like social expectations that we have to meet, and that creates insecurities when you feel like you're not meeting those expectations, when you're not meeting those like social norms, right? We cannot talk about insecurities without talking about childhood experiences. So these are life experiences in relationship with parents, caregivers, peers, and these can influence your sense of self and your worth, right? And your security. These are negative experiences that we've all, like, if you haven't had any of these, then you've had pretty good childhood, right? Neglect, criticism, bullying, that expectation piece goes in there, especially if it came from like your close family, like your close family members. These can contribute, and not only do they happen in childhood, but because they go unseen, unrecognized, and unspoken about, and reflected and undetangled, what happens is that we carry them into adulthood, and we might carry them into adulthood for a very long time if we don't begin to work on those childhood experiences that brought us to feeling how we feel about ourselves. And then there is the big SM, and it's not for small, it's for social media. So the cultural and media influences that we have. So that includes societal norms, beauty standards, media portrayals. These things often, and I know because since I was little, there was like certain portrayals of what beauty was, and what to do and how to be, how to move, how to talk, how to walk, how to look in order for you to like fit into this beauty norm. those ideals of attractiveness, of what success is, of achievements. I have a program in which it's called Success Defined by You, because it needs to be defined by you. We do have to work through a lot of the stuff that we bring into adulthood, because to get to a point in which we can actually focus into what is success to me, what is success to me. They don't measure to these ideals, not but if we don't measure to these ideals, then that creates insecurity. Again, this umbrella picture, right? Traumatic events. I am a full-on proponent, and I mean, there's trauma coaches as well, but I never suggest that you do coaching without working through your trauma through therapy. So working through therapy with that would be really great. But trauma such as abuse, loss, failure, these things can leave emotional scars, and they can contribute to insecurities. Like, I know for sure I had a traumatic event as a child, and that came up with me through adulthood. And so I was like, wait a minute, that had a lot to do with how I do things, why I say things, why I feel a certain way about myself. So think about what those traumatic events are for you, and get to a place in which you are able to talk those through, reflect, and get to to a new place in which you can recognize them, but also work around them. And then there's that feedback and rejection, y'all. You're looking at a person that doesn't like feedback. Wowzers. If the feedback and the rejection is so constant, so constantly someone's telling you that you're not doing something right, someone is constantly saying to you that you should be doing it this way, someone is constantly telling you that things shouldn't be the way they are, that that's not the way you do them, that why are you doing them that way, like, that can hurt your feelings of yourself, your sense of worth, and can make you insecure, because you're constantly receiving it. But for things, sometimes my flowers, I don't want them to get too hot with the light. That creates insecurity if it's constant, if it's a pattern, and if sometimes it can come as a form of abuse from someone else, like psychological and verbal, psychological, physical abuse, because this then, through this physical, mental, psychological, verbal abuse, what happens is that then you begin to create the you, right? The you that now is formed by this feedback, this abuse, this rejection, and this leads to you feeling a certain kind of way, right? About you, of course. And that takes some time to work through as well. So let's talk about beliefs, our personal beliefs, and how much of those beliefs have been internalized, and how much are they part of our daily thinking process, our daily beliefs of ourselves. So we internalize the messages we receive, that's one, right, from others, and then we inform beliefs about ourselves from others. Because let's get it, and this, I think, that's where a little bit of a controversy is, because we've got to be honest with ourselves. It comes from other people, but we form them. I'll say that again. The stuff, the beliefs, and the internalized societal stuff or personal stuff that people kind of put on us, it comes from other people, but we form the ideas, right? Or we allow those ideas to form the idea of ourselves. And as an outcome, what happens is that we become insecure, we get low self-esteem, and our confidence is also lacking as well. So thinking about what those are for you, how you're internalizing them, and if you're believing that you're not good enough, come on over and stay in my channel for a little bit more, for a little longer. Look through some of my videos, because you need to get to a point in which you believe in yourself, because those self-beliefs about self, what they're going to continue to create is a cycle of insecurities for you. Okay, I myself was there forever. Again, I came up with this list because of my own experiences. all the way from the social comparison, childhood experiences, the cultural media influences, the traumatic events, the feedback and abuse, the personal beliefs and internalization is what, all the way from probably from infancy, and then knowing my infant story, what happens is, even without my knowledge, even without me really remembering what happened to me as an infant, because of the stories I heard about my experience, right? My lived experience that was being seen by other people, then I created in my mind, I internalized my worth because of how I was, right? How I was treated as an infant, how I was treated as a child. And that came up with me up until now that I can talk about it. Like, even like as I'm like trying to talk about it, I'm like short on breath because I'm not fully yet immersed in the idea of sharing it all with y'all. But do know that we do get to internalize even things that we haven't lived through, but because other people have told us about them, then we then internalize that. Again, by choice, then we form our beliefs about ourselves. Yeah. Yep. This one, I was definitely a perfectionist. I think it's because I'm a first gen, and I think I still do. I shouldn't say I had as in past tense. I still have. And that is that perfectionism and unrealistic expectations. I still think I definitely have let down on the perfectionism part, where I now just do things if I really like to do them. I still want to do things well. That's just in my nature. But I'm not looking for perfectionism anymore. And I learned in college, there was a staff member in college, and one day said to me, you spend a lot of time doing and redoing things, and things don't have to be, and I'm getting chills thinking about it, things don't have to be perfect. As long as they're well done, you don't have to bombard yourself with the angst and the anxiety that is produced when you're trying to be perfect or produce in the sphere of perfectionism, which isn't really a reality, because there's no such thing as perfectionism, because there's also perception, and people are going to perceive you a certain way anyway. So are you really ever perfect? No. So if you're working on perfecting things, or perfecting things you do or achieve or whatever, to what degree and according to who? Nothing's gonna be perfect, because someone's going to always perceive your stuff a certain way, and you're going to always perceive your stuff a certain way. So will you ever be perfect? What is perfection anyway? Really, like, what is perfection anyway? And that leads you to unrealistic expectations, which then just add on to layers of what causes how you feel about yourself, your self-worth, your self-love. Okay, let's talk about your self-love, your self-respect, your confidence. And because that affects those things, and of course on the flip side is insecurity, right? So that's where you end up being. And if this is a call out for you, this is you, check yourself on that, because you don't want to live in a world where you're always trying to be perfect. It's not fun. Do things that you love, and do things that you love. Whew. So it doesn't mean, there's going to be some tough love for y'all, okay? Ready? It does not mean that you're destined to remain that way. It does not mean, let me repeat that again, that you are destined to live this way. I am a confidence coach, right? And the reason, there's many reasons, but I'm going to tell you this one, is because, when I became aware of where my self-esteem was lacking, where my confidence was lacking, and how I was allowing everyone else to kind of decide who I was, my self-worth, my value, and how much love I had or didn't have for myself, I started to work on it. And I became a confidence coach to help other women change that, because we can't live in, we can continue to live and truly enjoy our life in meaningful ways if we continue to live under other people's expectation of us and all of that. So So, understanding that underlying causes of our insecurities is really important. The understanding part, the self-awareness is very, very important. And then the seeking support, right? The seeking support. I just found, I wish I had it in handy. I was cleaning out one of my boxes that I had in storage, and I found a journal in which I was reflecting on my own self-confidence about 3 years ago, which is funny to think about because about 3 years ago is when I started my business, right? No, 4 years ago. So 3 years ago, so 4 years ago I started my business. I was not doing confidence, I was doing mindset coaching. So 3 years, that makes sense. If 3 years ago I started kind of thinking about what confidence was, self-esteem and all that, especially as hey, how are you? Especially as how we have to show up on camera all the time, we kind of have to think about confidence in a different way because we are being seen by people. We are being watched by people. So I was kind of reflecting on what that means for me and staying true to who I am and what I believe I am and who I believe I am, and describing and explaining what success means to me, which is some of the things that I talked about a little bit earlier that I'm including in the workshop that's coming up, because we have to define success for ourselves. Success cannot be according to our experiences. It cannot be according to our spouse's expectations of us. It cannot be according to the comparisons that we make of ourselves with other people. It cannot be according to your group of friends. Like, you need to define what success means to you and also live confidently in that sphere, like understanding what that is and then going for what you want, achieve what you want, do what you want, like live your best life, right? Find things that you enjoy and do it joyfully. That's my thing. So you should be engaging in the self-reflection, the personal growth, because this stuff can help us develop a healthier sense of self. And we definitely can overcome our insecurities over time. We definitely can. I'm going to tell you something. I know that a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, I'm going to look back at my old videos and be like, girl, that was you? Look at you now. Because I look at when I started doing Instagram, whenever that was, was that 2020? Excuse me. I think it was 2020. And I look at how I was showing up. And the things that were going through my head while I was showing up, where now I show up knowing my stuff, understanding the value that I'm going to be sharing with you, versus before where I was like, okay, what do the people need to hear? Who's going to stick around and watch my videos? What I need to say X, Y, Z, because if I don't, then blah, blah, blah. Now it's just like, listen, people that need this content are going to get it. People that need to hear this are going to hear it, and it's going to be how it's going to be. As I said before, one of those things I listed before, that perfectionism, if you can begin to let that go, because that's programmed you to live in an insecure life, because there's no such thing as perfectionism, right? Because according to who? Because according to who? So this is definitely stuff that we can work on, and we can get to the underlying causes and work through them, to them, for them, against them. And that's part of what this workshop that I'm hosting on June 28th. It's a workshop that I'm hosting on June 28th, and it's going to go through some of that, right? We're going to be talking about self-doubt, but not only talking about it, but really using techniques that will help you banish your self-doubt. We're going to be unleashing your potential, because we are full of potential, and a lot of us are not doing anything to really live in our potential, unleash it, and really allow that potential to work for us, to work in our I was going to say in our advantage, but that's not the word. in our favor. And also, once you begin to feel confidence, how do you communicate that? How do you begin to express yourself? How do you begin to really put the thoughts that are coming into your mind out into the world, because they are important and valuable, and you are valuable and you matter? And so how do we begin to use some effective communication? We're going to be talking about pressure. We're under pressure all the time as women. think about all the ways, all the directions that pressures is coming towards us, like in terms of societal norms, roles you hold, whether you're a spouse or you're a parent, whether you work outside the house, whether you're a business owner. Like there's a lot of pressure. So how do we thrive under that pressure? How do we make sure that we still stay on top? How do we remain calm and composed and confident through all of it? And as you know, success is defined by you, but you also need the right mindset for that. You need a good mindset, the right mindset, a strong mindset, a tenacious mindset. Because if you don't, then you won't get to the success that you want. And you can cultivate a powerful, success-oriented mindset. So we'll get some introduction to that. One that attracts the opportunities, that propels you forward. Because we have also, because of how we've been programmed and within being insecure, what has happened is that then we have allowed that insecurity to rule where we go or we don't go, right? We have allowed our old mindset, the mindset that it has been programmed, to allow it to hold us back. And so how do we build our mindset? So I'm like snapping because this is what I'm thinking. I'm like, we need to get our mindset to the point in which it makes sense, it works for us, not against us, because our mindset can work for us. It doesn't have to work against us. And of course, we're going to be talking about self-esteem. So developing a sense of self-worth and embracing your unique qualities. Yes, because you need to begin to radiate the confidence in every area of your life. That is very important. When I talk about confidence, I don't talk about confidence only at work. I don't talk about confidence only in relationships. I don't talk about confidence only in business or only amongst friends. Like I talk about you being confident in every area of your life, because it's important for you to show up confidently everywhere you go. So in order for you to sign up for this workshop, which is about, I don't know how to do the math, y'all, and I don't have my calculators on my phone, but I believe it's at least 60% off the original price to sign up for this workshop. So that link is in bio. And Instagram has been a little wonky, as it always is. So some of my link wasn't working at once, but it wasn't I'll take that back, because it wasn't an Instagram thing, it was a me thing. But now the link is working, so that's all set to go. So I'm going to go now, so this is not too long for the folks that are going to be watching the replay. Any questions, don't hesitate to hit me up in the DMs. And if I were you and you've already listened to everything and you're listening to me now because you've already listened to the whole replay, I would highly, highly recommend that you attend this workshop, because it will allow you to begin to build or get those practical blocks so that you can begin and or continue to build on your confidence. That is so necessary for your success, for your happiness, and for your livelihood. So I'll leave you with that. I hope you have a great day at whatever time you're watching this. And thank you for sticking with me this time. Take care.